Well, there's quite a few people that are listening to this book read, so I'll continue reading. Um, Start this off. Um, I really, really love that a lot of people are interested in this book, and hopefully we can have a lot more discussions on it on this blog radio that we're going to start next Monday. I'll get more information out the more things develop, but right now I'm just going to continue reading this and give my little 2 cents about what it is that I'm reading. And I have a lot of kudos to you to listen to me read because I suck at reading. In addition, within each stage of development, there are 3 parallel aspects of consciousness all running at the same time. These are parallel because information organizes according to 3 different physical systems: particle, wave, and holodynamics. Particle dynamics are rational, as in Kant's pure reason or Pluto's the true of objective proposition, and tend to be linear. Wave dynamics are collective, subjective, and cultural, as in Kant's we as in morals and values, or Pluto's good is in morals, and are generally nonlinear. Holodynamics, which might be partly represented by the I, as in the art of self-expression in Kant's critique of judgment, or Pluto's beautiful, that is, in the inner eye of the beholder, or as in presence, the exclusive superposition. Each of these interacting dynamic systems was contained within the topology. In my dream, this topology appeared as a living dynamic entity that correlated every theory of consciousness into one integrated model. I kept asking questions of this model, and it kept unfolding more and more of its integrative properties. What emerged for me was an ongoing dialogue between my conscious self and this internal topology. It was as though the model itself was self-organizing, different approaches. It was a posterior conclusion harvested from hundreds of developmental sequences I had been studying from each major religion, science, educational framework, and philosophical orientation. It was also a priori in that the model actually challenged me to test it as a working series of hypotheses within the arena of human behavior. It was much more than just a scientific theoretical framework. It was a reflection of the dynamic living universe in which I was immersed in. Yet at the same time, I was emerging as a unique being. So basically what that means is that what this guy was doing is making like a prototype of consciousness. Just like if you had a prototype of an airplane and you wanted to test it out to see if it would work the way you think it would work, he was doing a prototype of consciousness. And all of the information that was coming to him came from everything that he studied. This is what I'm saying is, you are like one pixel out of a holographic image. You have all of the information, but you're just a small picture of that bigger picture. So all of his whole entire life experiences may seem like they're all just a bunch of dots in his life, a bunch of pixels in his life that didn't make any sense, but one day it all came together. And it's not even that this topology, this framework that he put together is his whole life picture. It's still just a part of that. And that's where I kind of found out about my life, is it was constantly going in so many different directions. Everybody was, complaining that I'm always all over the place. And yet being all over the place gave me a lot of information. It was required that I was all over the place. In the time that I didn't know what direction was the right direction for me, it felt like I was lost. But then one day, everything came together, and it was like, now I see why I needed to go and learn that, why I needed to go and learn this and that, and it all, a bigger picture came together. So it's like your whole life experience, your whole genetic experience is like in a tunnel vision of a bigger picture, that you have to sort of live it out. You have to play it out to see what that big picture is. And that's where we are in humanity. It may seem like everything's falling apart, but everything's just sort of coming together, and it's a good time, although it feels really rough, but it's just because we're in the tunnel vision of it. We don't see that bigger picture yet, but it's coming. Everything became dynamic. Every theory I had studied and was then studying could easily be placed within the model's assumptive roots and viewed as a growing dynamic system of thought, with its contributions and limitations and even its inherent pathologies. My own religious views, once so concrete and absolute, became fluid. All that I had believed and taught became part of the majestic and mystery of the system, so complex that in all my imaginations I could never have conceived of it being as magnificent as it showed itself to be. In that paragraph, he's saying that, he had religious views that were concrete. You couldn't change his opinion about something. He formed a belief that once he's seen this topology, it was no longer a solid belief, but a fluid, a questionable, is this really true? I mean, the guy is still a little bit screwed up, but he at least seen the process here that things aren't as solid as you think they are, that it's got to be fluid all the time. If this guy kept on being fluid, then he wouldn't be contradicting himself so much. I mean, some of these books were written in 20 years ago, 1990. Why isn't it a bestseller if he knows how to make it a bestseller? He's got a tool that can solve every problem. So he's still in some form of process, which he sort of reveals in this book. He's trying to teach us the science, but as he's teaching the science, he's also letting us know what he thinks about, where his mind is at. I mean, you can pretty much predict who this guy is totally by the words he uses. And it's the same with me. You can see who I am by the words and focus that I have and my actions. Am I in alignment? Is my actions in total alignment with my words? Do I live what I speak? In this particular case, I don't see this guy living what he speaks, so there's a contradiction there. But we all have them. It's not like a negative thing towards him, but more of a reaction, a look at myself. That if I can see that in somebody else, then that has to be within me as well. So I kind of constantly trying hard to keep myself in check at all times, which is, it is the challenge of life. I stepped out of my comfort zone, thinking, and began to apply myself to the challenges of life. I began to look for problems to solve, and more difficult the better. Thus I chose to solve the problem of drug abuse. It was natural, easy, and a complement to my own state of being. Then, after bringing that program to a successful conclusion in 6 cities, I turned to the challenges of mental illness. From there, after emptying most patients of a local mental hospital, I progressed to solving the deep problems of hardcore crime, youth offenders, gangs, and prisoners. Then I moved on to the complexities of large corporations, even governments. Now, after 35 years of testing, tens of thousands of others are living testimony that the model has merit. It is not a cast in concrete absolute reflection of reality. It is just the opposite. It is a living, dynamic, interactive, integrative model that I hope will inspire others to seek more integrative and integracious views of this magnificent conscious world in which we live and have our being. Family holodynes include beliefs, taboos, habits, tastes, stories, and injections were symbolically represented within the right side in the curved section seen on the top of the box and running through the bottom of the box. Cultural holodynes, collective beliefs, taboos, myths, rules, regulations fit within the section on the left side within the curved section of the box. The overlapping section can be viewed as containing our comfort zone holodynes. These are the ones we believe are true because they are held in common with our family and culture. Everything except everything feeling and thought at every level of development, no matter what its form, fits within this topology of consciousness. Every school of thought, collective sense of consciousness, and aspect of universality was integrated into the model. Within the combination of each section was the whole dynamic. Physical reality could be seen to have its own sense of consciousness that reflected itself at all 6 levels in 3 forms as contained within those holodynes that manifested the dimension of reality. Likewise, personal reality development at all 6 levels, as did each stage of development from relationship systems, principles, and universality. Each stage had both its own sense of consciousness and reflected all other aspects of consciousness in parallel to its own at one and the same time. It was quantum and holographic. Any subject can be processed through this model, and because it has value, I would like to explore a few examples. Perhaps one place to start would be with how we view reality. This is going to get interesting. Our view of reality. For many people, the truth about reality is often considered as essential for human beings in order to maintain any form of society. What, however, is truth? To begin our discussion, let us remember that the way in which any person views reality or truth depends upon which dimension or which P-brain they are using. If, for example, a person is using a linear view, the world will appear different than if he or she were to use a wave view. A holodynamic view of reality would appear different from either a linear or wave view. So truth as linear reality may differ from truth, a wave, or from a holodynamic reality. Truth may also differ according to the stage of development of the person. Even within a stage of development, certain holodynes may take over, shift the screens of perception, and one's view of truth will change. The linear mind will conceive truth within the left-hand upper region of the topological model as a rational, linear, objective particle dynamic. From the model, it is easy to see that truth has 6 levels of manifestation. If we look at each level of manifestation, we can see that at the first level, truth from a linear view is physical. It is scientifically observable object and can be demonstrated through repeatable experiments. Rational people accept such evidence as reasonable explanations of reality and therefore the truth. I'm kind of like that too. I want to see things to be repeated all the time, or I think it's correct. At the second level, still thinking in linear terms, there is a more personal type of truth that comes from correspondence, representation, and propositional dynamics. This interpretation of reality is usually closely held and internally validated. Each person holds in private a store of their own perception of reality, such as there is not enough or I am not enough. There is a rational truth as in mature understanding, intimate group agreement, a code of ethics or commitments, and a sense of loyalty. Likewise, at the next level, there is also an institutional truth as in laws, justice, collective held paradigms, and mutual goals. Then there is principled truth as in truthfulness, sincerity, and trust. There is also universal truth as in truth is. All these can be conceived and believed from a rational point of view. That is your emotions. I'm also guided by that as well. But you're guided by your emotions, and if you can keep track of your own emotions, then you'll always know what truth is. So it is both logical, but it also is emotional. So, and it gets into more holodynamic, but I'll continue on another one.